side or something. Alright, so we've got our username and our password stuff there. Now we're going to need to read in the data. And this will be a new string blah UTF-8. And as you can see, it kind of takes a little while for KMS to do stuff. Is there a better API for KMS? Is there like a bulk one? Let's take a look. Looks like there's only a single request API, which is unfortunate. Alright, well I need a few more caffeines. So we need our credential storage stuff to be accessible. So our config loader is going to be doing stuff. Alright, so I'm going to need a WD password safe. Well, I think I think I might want to separate the credentials stuff a little bit. Or maybe I want a config value to actually have a credential entry. Yeah, I think I'll just do that, like WD stored credential entry and then the actual credential. That should be just fine. Thank you for following. Check Alonet. I'm doing the most interesting of things at the moment, which is loading secure credentials from KMS and all that. So I'm gonna want a WD password safe credential loader, and then a WD KMS credential loader. Alright, so let's do the password safe one first. Alright, and this one is going to, we have our startup JSON. So we're going to have our it's going to be credentials. Bucket is correct. I need the not the root folder, but the password safe, and the password safe password. So I'll have my password safe here, location. With this super amazing password of 12345, of course. So let's go add that to our credential config. Yeah, I know. It really would. I mean, obviously, the most secure way for us to deal with passwords and all that stuff, we should just be hard coding this stuff into our program and checking it into source control. I don't know why I'm doing any of this stuff, to be honest. Alright, so we'll get our prefix, and we'll also get our yeah, basically wasting my time. That's like with the Super Meat Boy guy or whatever. He had the high score database, and he had it so the client would just connect directly to this database that he had set up with the password just baked into the client. And like a guy figured it out pretty quick. That's what was going on. So he like posted to. He actually got the guy on like Communicator, Skype or something. Was like, hey dude, like your password is this, and you need to change how you do this. Like it's a really bad idea. And the guy was like a super big douchebag to him. And so the guy overwrote the entire database with like his name or something. Just like it was pretty funny. It's like that's why like the passwords got all the high scores got all fucked up at one point. So I mean that's what we're trying to avoid here is just checking your shit into source control. Because like let's say that we have like somebody we want to work with for this project or something, and like we bring them onto the team, and all our passwords are in source control, and that person turns out to be a giant douchebag. Like, well of course it is. It's the Zero Ultra monster, white supremacist version, the best version. Now I've got like, you go to Costco and you get that like red, white, and blue, 30 pack or whatever of monsters, and like you get the white ones, you get the blue ones, and the red ones. And the red ones are the fucking worst. So it's always really funny because I'll get a bunch of them, and then I'll drink all the red and blue ones, and I'll have a bunch of goddamn red ones. I'm like, these all taste like cherry syrup. This sucks. It's a real problem. Alright, so how we load this stuff is basically going to be, it's going to be conf.m settings.m, it's not settings, it's cred settings, password safe location, equals null, or conf.m cred settings.m password safe password equals null. Password safe location or password not set for config system. Now the good ones are, the blue ones are good, and the orange ones are good. The rest of them are kind of hit and miss. The purple ones are pretty decent, but like some of the other ones just taste like medicine. Like I think that they have a black one, and I just absolutely hate that one because it tastes like, I forget it tastes more like, I think, Red Bull or whatever, and it just kind of tastes but nasty. I don't know. It's not very good. Excuse me. Alright, so we'll have our password safe here. Yeah, I can't drink like the normal monsters either anymore. Like the Zero Ultra ones are just so much better. Like, and I think they were supposed to be like a feminine version of Monster Energy drinks or something. Like you can tell like the art on the side is all like flowers and bullshit. But whatever, I don't care. They're good. Alright, so we're going to snag all these config values out of here and return the map. And I need to fill them out. Alright, so I need to have the name is going to be... This is 2017. Yeah, this is current year! I mean, you've seen like some of those commercials they have for... Like what they have, like Coke Zero and like other... versus Diet Coke and other random stuff like Pepsi Max or whatever the fuck. Like just trying to get like men to drink diet soda. It's like a big thing that doesn't happen. Alright, so I need to create this config value. So the name is going to be entry.m name config value.m context equals comp.m cred settings.m context config value.m credential equals new credential config value.m credential.m. We don't care about the password material, we care about the we don't want these credential entries, we want like a public static class WD credential. And this should be public string m user, public byte array m password bytes, and public string m password string. And I guess I should also have a byte array for the user bytes. User bytes, password string, and we should be storing one of these. Genuinely curious, do I do this for a living? Well, I am hopefully going to make money off of this game when it releases. We're working on. That's the plan, at least. We're all going to be millionaires and have just tons and tons and tons of money. But before that, I was a server engineer for 8 years in the game industry, and that's just what I do. So like I worked at Amazon, Electronic Arts, and everything. So if like after all this time, like we spend another year here and like we don't make any money or anything, I'll just go back to reality. Yeah, don't worry, you guys will be along for the ride. I'm sure everybody is gonna be part of the success. Config value.m credential.m user bytes equals entry.m user.get bytes. But yeah, like I am like 29 at the moment, so that's kind of one of the things is I wanted to do with my life is I wanted to see if I could make my own project and stuff like that. So now's kind of the time to do it before I'm like, I need to like, be responsible and bullshit and not just like fritter away all my money on something. So I've got goals. So if it doesn't work out, I can always just go back to working as server engineer, and actually I will love that if I do. That's absolutely fine. I have no problems with that because I really like server engineering as well. So it's just one of those things that I will see. So okay, we need to put the config value.name in here, and then that's going to be config value. Alright, so that's the password safe loading credential store. Now we need the KMS credential loading thing. I should probably test this out. You know, make sure it actually does what I think it should do. Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Alright, so we'll add these other things in here. Yeah, it's kind of one of the cool things is if we actually do make any money with this project, because it's really just like me and Adam or whatever, you know, we don't have to make much money for us to break even or to get enough money to continue work on other things. So even having like a third person or a fourth person, all of a sudden, you know, it's that much more expensive. Or, you know, there's always there's also the risk that, you know, like somebody has a real problem. You should get a new piece every so often because your shop must be tired. Nah, I don't. It's the same piece. I've been chewing on it since like January. Now I'm one of those people who has like some stupid ass oral fixation. So like I have one of these memories where my producer like came around to like, you know, like say hello on one of the days, and you know, just like, how's it going, Kirk? You know, blah blah blah. And, you know, he like picks up this thing on my desk that is like this little like piece of rubber thing and starts like twiddling it in his hands, and then like after like 10 seconds, he's like, "This was in your fucking mouth, wasn't it?" He just like chucks it like at my monitor and walks away all disgusted. I'm just like, well, you shouldn't pick up shit off of people's desks then. Human beings are disgusting people, and I'm not going to say that I'm not one of those disgusting people. Alright, so I need a loader for the... Yeah, I need a private WD config loader. This will be the M credential loader. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Like, it's always good stuff. It's just one of those things, you know. It took him. You know, you can see like the gears turning, and then you're like tick 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 tick. You know, he's like, fuck. And I'm gonna need to just throw a crappy implementation of this thing on here real quick to get this thing to stop bitching at me. I'll never make that make. Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those. Alright, so we have the credential loader. Awesome. Alright, reload configs. And I'll need this thing for credential loader load config values. Let's see, this is creds, credentials. I just need to set a whole bunch of stuff. I'm basically adding the credential loader to the other loader, and it's not necessarily a copy paste. There's still like other things that need to happen. Alright, so this is going to be m credentials equals cred map. And then it's like for everything inside of the cred map here, I'm going to say values.add, and then the credential array needs to be set to it. Alright, cool. So then we'll notify if those things are actually good to go. Alright, I need to have a couple things here. Private volatile boolean has loaded configs equals false. Private volatile boolean has loaded credentials equals false. Alright, so we'll snag both of these, throw it down in this garbage heap. Has loaded configs is true. Has loaded credentials equals true. So if both of these are true, then we're going to notify that we are finished loading. Awesome. Alright, so one of the other things is we don't want to have our KMS loading stuff happen all the time, but I need another thing here. It's going to be get credential. So I need to change this a little bit. This should be not a WD config value, but a WD credential value. Alright, so I need to do like credmap.put entry.getKey, entry.getValue.mCredential, and then the Alright, so that's how we load those credentials. Excellent. Now let's return them. Let's get credential map. Otherwise, we want to get credentials, credential array. Alright, so that's gonna finish off that. One of the things is we're gonna want like a force reload on the credential on some of these values. So what I'm gonna want to do is I need like a force reload. So let's make those. So the next, alright, so public void force reload. I should say reload configs boolean force. And we'll want like private volatile boolean and force reload equals false. Alright, so this load config value should actually take a boolean force. The only thing that's actually going to use that is going to be the KMS stuff, because we don't want to be sitting there doing a whole bunch of stuff with KMS, because it's a fucking waste of time. Our credentials aren't going to be changing that often, so there's no reason to reload them. Config values are something else. Hello, Magic Slinky. How are you doing today? I am trying to get my credentials and configuration systems online for server stuff. I'm doing alright. Let's see, how long have I been going for at the moment? So I've been working on this stuff for the last 5.5 hours. I'm trying to get to the point. I don't really know where I'm trying to get to at the moment. I'm just trying to get to where we can actually maybe start. We'll stand up our server so I can run it locally, get credentials. I probably need to set up a database. I need to set up stuff on my machine that I can use. That's a very long time. Yeah. We've gone longer though. Okay, so we have our credential loaders. We got all this stuff. Reloading is in there. Alright, so for WD credential, cred and config dot get credentials. Let's config value or cred. This will be cred. I want context and name and so yeah, we'll pin out the password string. Alright, so we got the context, we got the name. So we'll need those things in there. So when we make them, we actually have to set them up. So config value.mCredential.mName equals entry.mName, and config value.mCredential.mContext equals conf.mpred settings context. 24 hours. What is Dashkin about? Dashkin is a game about Bitey of Brackenwood and running around causing mischief and other stuff like that. So it's going to be a kind of a fast platformer game. We're going to have some really cool music, some really cool art, and hopefully it is a fun experience. And working on some of the server stuff right now, there's a lot of things that you want like some basic online components for stuff. Like if we want to store data about a user that they can use later, or if we want to have a high score table, or if we want any sort of events that happen or whatever for this game, we need a place to do that. You'll be going for 24 hours? Damn, Karakan. I mean, isn't Adam gonna stream here at some point? Like, it is Friday, right? Doesn't he stream on Fridays, or did he cancel it for today? One and a half hours. Oh man. So it's going to be a speedrunning type of thing? I don't think it's really going to be a speedrunning game. It's not going to be like Spelunky or something where you're always like going for the daily challenge or some crap. But I do believe that it would, like, kind of a speed-based platformer would lend itself to some of that. So we'll see. We're getting our tools and our tool belt put together. And I don't want to speak to all of our plans until we have more of a better idea about it. I'm kind of just sick of working on the goddamn water materials at this point, so I'm taking a break from that a little bit. Alright, so if I boot this up, I should see my stuff going. Fatal untrapped exception. What? No such method error. Get credentials? Why is this all angry? I think what's probably going on is we've got a little bit of issues with some of these binary files. Let's clean it, because I was doing a Jenkins build. It's probably pissed off at something there. There we go. Alright, so it looks like our test password did not get a context properly. It's because we misspelled context. You're working, that doesn't follow the Trinity? Are you saying an RPG system that does not follow like mana and hit points and whatever? I'm not familiar with the word Trinity there. So you'll have to explain it to me if you want me to understand. Alright, so we're gonna have to get configs. DPS tank healer. It's the Holy Trinity. Ah, yeah, shit. That jogs my memory a little bit. You need more deeps. Or at least some variation right there. Yeah. I mean, what? Not everybody, when they're playing Final Fantasy 1, just pops open a party of 4 thieves and just goes at it? Well, I'd imagine a lot of people are very comfortable and familiar with that sort of setup, so that's kind of what people would expect. Yeah, Black Mage for the win? Jesus Christ. Like, a party of 4 Black Mages is probably the most difficult way to win that game. Because at least with Thieves you can run away, and Final Fantasy 1 was all about running the hell away from enemies that would just one-shot your whole fucking party. Alright, so with Camus Credential Loader, I need to... grab the property file. So, where is it? Alright, here we go. Alright, so we need these null dudes up here. Alright, so this will be M, KMS, equals new WD, KMS, with our instance profile credential provider. Let's have them share the same one. And let's reorganize this code just a very slight bit. So you're trying to come up with a new system, something that makes people feel like they have a role, but that doesn't specifically make them a tank or healer. The thing is, given people's option to do many things, many roles have many things to do, it becomes an issue of no class or job being unique, since everybody, yeah. So, if you can do everything, then, like, what's the point? Like, that reminds me of one of those, you know, when Portal came out, everybody was like, oh my god, Portal. And especially since the people from Digipin made Narvacular Drop, which turned into Portal, and I was from Digipin, there was this whole thing where people were like, oh man, we should make crazy stuff like Portal. So one of the things we did is we made Portal, but we made it so you could put portals anywhere, and not just on walls. And we found that there was absolutely no way to make a game around that. Because you couldn't limit the player. So it was like, if they could put portals anywhere, there's no fucking gameplay because they could do anything. You can't stop the player from getting somewhere in the world or make it difficult whatsoever. So, yeah. That whole thing could be difficult at times. Oh, it sounds kind of like Magica, right? You like combine different things at when you're playing, and then you can kind of do whatever you want. I'd assume self-contained is what you're referring to there. Yeah, and then you got like stuff like what Final Fantasy 11 or whatever has like sub jobs and whatever the hell for your character, so you can have extra abilities and blah blah blah. Alright, so step 1 is grab data from S3. Step 2 is decrypt using KMS. Okay, so we want to grab the data. So the S3 file is going to be the config.m credential settings m context plus. No, it's going to be the crap. What is it? It's the prefix, the context, and then the file. So prefix, context, file. Okay. So this will be the ms3 dot download object as string. It's going to be from conf.mcred settings bucket. Path is going to be this S3 file. Alright, so this will be a warning here, slogger.warn, unable to download S3 file from S3. I think FF11 is really nice in that regard. The big MMOs right now are doing something right. In fact, the classes are well designed, the problem is they're very rigid with hardly any customization. Yeah, well, and they also want you to go play through a couple characters and do all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, are you kind of thinking about like if you kind of took Skyrim and turned it into an MMO and anybody could do anything, so you could be like a thief but also have like healing magic or something? So you could be like, I'm a healer thief. I could do incredible damage from behind you and then heal myself and run away like a pansy. Alright, so we'll grab this thing, and then we'll have a credential file, so it should be this WD encrypted credential file. That's definitely not what you want. Alright. Fair enough. Alright, so we'll grab this from JSON, which will be our data, and then that's our class. Excuse me. Well, I mean, that's one of those things. If you're gonna, usually you try to pick what you want to experiment with your game and stick to that. You experiment with too much and then your game turns into goop. Like, We're making an RTS MMO collectible card game. The movie. I don't know. Too many ideas all wrapped into one can turn something into garbage. Alright, so we have our credential file. So what we need to do is we need to decrypt all the crap. We're going to need to. I'm gonna need to multi-thread this thing as well. A card game RTS called Battleforge. I really like. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what happens to online games. Like, they have servers, and servers are expensive, and if they don't make money, they get turned off. And that's one of the reasons why when we did the planning earlier today, you do costs for everything. So, like, if nobody likes Dashkin, you know, the general nobody, how much would it cost if we had any servers that were actually running for this, and let's say that they were critical for its operation? You know, how much money are we going to be chucking at the wall minimum? And it's $60 is kind of our floor. So, you know, we wouldn't be shutting it off. But like a lot of games, just like Dragon Age Legends, other stuff that I've worked on, Dawngate, etc., like they just disappear because they cost money to keep running. So, you know, you don't get games that would like ship you know, like 10 years ago, because that are kind of garbage town, but at least like the kind of games, because like to run most games are multiplayer nowadays or free to play or something and require all that. Yeah, I worked on Dawngate. I was there were 2 server engineers on that game, and one of them was pretty much out of commission the entire time, and so I was pretty much the solo server engineer for Dawngate. I mean, it wasn't like I was solo engineer without any help. It's just like the dude was like going through some really rough times, so he wasn't able to work all that much, but his experience was definitely there to help out. All the people, like most of the designers and everything from Dawngate, like, I don't know. I left that team mainly because like EA acquired the Star Wars IP. We needed more people for the team, and we needed like three more heads and specific places filled with people. Otherwise, we were screwed, and we couldn't get those people. And then like EA acquired the Star Wars IP for games, so the question was kind of brought forward: should we stop making Dawngate in this intellectual property and make it into a Star Wars MOBA? And I was just like, hell's yes, we should. Like, that's gonna make so much money that we'll be able to, you know, actually hire the people we need to make this game and finish it and actually be okay. But the designers were real headstrong and they didn't want to sacrifice their intellectual property. So as a result of that, we didn't get enough money from, you know, the corporation, because the corporation, you know, makes sound business decisions. Like, your game isn't gonna sell, so like, why the hell should we fund you? Do with what you can. And so like when they turned down the Star Wars MOBA because like the designers were like being super stubborn, I was just like, fuck this, and bailed. Even though like we were in, you know, public alpha, I was just like, you know what, I can't. Yeah, I mean, that was my my question to like the producer and the manager. I was like, do you hate money? Because it sure as hell sounds like you hate money. And that's coming from a server engineer, so you'll have to understand a little bit of my understanding, my viewpoint on games, especially like games that have servers, is if the game doesn't make money, then the game will not exist. You will never be able to update it, because if it doesn't make money, you have to turn it off. So if your game doesn't make money, the game doesn't exist. So customers aren't going to be able to play anything, and that sucks because I like making games that people actually play. So, yeah. Yeah, that was the thing, is like, I was not happy with that. And we could have gotten another, like, 10 people on the team. We would have been able to ship all the shit that we needed, and it would have been freaking amazing. But nope, stubborn people. I don't know. If I was the manager of that team, I would have just fired the designers. I'd just been like, you guys can go to hell. Because literally every game I have ever worked on, besides a few, have been shut off because they eventually don't make money. So, it kind of pisses me off when people make decisions, that are going to end up with the game not existing. I mean, there are romantic notions of creating games and everything like that, but when you actually sit down and do the business calculations, like, you're doing the best thing for the customer by coming up with a good business model, because it means the game's going to keep working, keep going. And it's different with the free-to-play stuff. I think a lot of the time where there are some really nefarious business practices, and that's a different thing entirely. Those people go straight to hell. Anyway, back to these credentials. I'm going to need to make a KMS decryptor thread pool that I can now go call through. I think I need to go to my config loader. And do I need to call shutdown on this? Executor.shutdown now. Yeah, there we go. Let's just do shutdown false. Problem is that you're so poor, so I'm assuming I need to go free to play instead of host servers for peer-to-peer instead of host servers for people to play on. You're still gonna need something. Like, how many people do you expect to be in a match? Would be my first question there. Because I actually know the data on peer-to-peer network mesh communication and if it's actually possible. Basically, all right, 4 people there's a really good chance there. It's about an 80% chance, given your standard, roll the dice on your network connections. There's about an 80 or 90% chance that those people will be able to communicate with each other if you have some sort of rebroadcaster situation where one of the peers can rebroadcast on behalf of another peer. So that's a situation that might work out real well for peer-to-peer. Have I ever played Peace Walker or Monster Hunter? Thank you for following Magic Slink. I have not played either of those games, but I have definitely seen playthroughs of it.